This video is brought to you by Soccer.com, North America's largest online soccer retailer. Be sure to use coupon code 10SR4U at checkout for 10% off any order of $75 or more. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com with a traction test comparison video between the brand new Adidas NitroCharge 1.0 and the brand new Nike HyperVenom Phantom, perhaps two of the most popular models currently out there on the market. Now, the way that these traction tests work is that I show you a couple of slow motion tests that really show the overall performance of the traction on both of these two soccer shoes. Now, when you consider traction, most people only think about the stud patterns on the shoe. And while those are a major factor when it does come to overall traction and performance, you really have to consider the sole plate, the fit, and the stability of the upper itself. So there are a couple of things that I want you guys to look out for during these clips as I kind of commentate over them. The first thing you should really look out for, and probably one of the most important things that most people would not consider, is movement in the upper. The more movement in the upper means that there's more rollover, means that there could potentially be instability, and it also means that it's going to have a less responsive feel. The second thing to look out for is any kind of slippage once the foot is planted. If it's a solid plant and there's no movement at all, that means that the traction pattern is really doing its part to keep you secured in the ground and giving you very strong push-off power. The last thing to look out for is any kind of grass or dirt being kicked up from the ground. The more grass and dirt being kicked around means that the studs are digging in deeper into the playing surface, which again leads to more grip. Now, just to give you guys a better idea as to how fast everything is happening, because you will be seeing these clips in slow motion, here is a look at a couple clips at full speed. Now that you got a better idea as to how fast everything is happening, we'll get into the slow motion clips. The first test is a 10-yard sprint to a cut and then accelerating back in the opposite direction. The NitroCharge handles this test very, very well, especially considering it does have that energy sling across the forefoot, where the majority of the stress is being put on the shoe itself. Not to mention that the protective mesh area through the midfoot is also nice and rigid when you pull the laces tight, so you're not going to have to worry about any kind of rollover, and overall, this particular shoe performs in this test a lot better than most shoes currently out there on the market. It definitely does what it says it's supposed to do in terms of allowing you to change direction very, very efficiently and providing that nice responsive feel. The HyperVenom Phantom, on the other hand, is kind of a different story. The super soft, super thin Nike Skin synthetic upper is actually very, very flexible. And while there is an internal support frame on the inside of the shoe, it doesn't do that much to really prevent stretching and rollover in the upper. When I do perform this particular drill, you can see that there's actually quite a bit of movement on the upper itself, and it does lead to a lot of rollover and some slippage on the inside of the shoe, not to the point where it harms the overall feel, but it definitely is noticeable. The second test is a 10-yard sprint parallel to the camera with a one-footed, very quick 90-degree cut accelerating away. Again, the NitroCharge 1.0 performed really, really well during this test. There's absolutely zero rollover with the upper whatsoever. Your foot is held in place, and the traction pattern does its part to give you plenty of grip when pushing off. When it comes to the HyperVenom Phantom, you'll notice a ton of rollover during this particular test, and the first couple times I did it, I was even surprised at how much the upper was moving when I was putting all my weight on the shoe and pushing off. You will notice that there is a slightly unstable feel when you do this type of movement in the HyperVenom Phantom, but for the most part, again, I wouldn't say it is a major design flaw, but it definitely is something to improve upon with the next HyperVenom Phantom model. The final test is a single foot push off into an immediate sprint, mainly to show off the responsiveness and traction of the shoe itself. Again, notice that there's barely any rollover with the NitroCharge 1.0, giving you that nice responsive feel, but the one thing I would have to say about this particular shoe is that the stud pattern doesn't dig into the ground quite as deeply as I would personally like it to. When it comes to the HyperVenom Phantom, the stud pattern is, in my opinion, one of the best currently out there on the market as far as firm ground stud patterns go. The thin profile of the conical studs dig into the ground really, really well, and you get pretty good multi-directional traction and plenty of traction at push-off. Again, rollover is a slight issue with the upper. It's very, very flexible, and it's going to be noticeable no matter which way that you're cutting. So, which is the better performer, the NitroCharge 1.0 or the HyperVenom Phantom? The answer to that question really comes down to personal preference. If you're talking about true responsiveness and just a very secure fit on the inside of the shoe, I think that the NitroCharge 1.0 is easily the best shoe currently out there on the market. The energy sling across the forefoot really does its part to keep your foot secure on the inside of the shoe, and the overall rugged design just makes your foot feel very, very secure on the inside with very, very minimal rollover, as you guys can see. Now when it comes to the HyperVenom Phantom, the upper is very soft and there is a fair bit of rollover from the shoe itself, which can be an issue depending on, again, your personal preferences. To me personally, I really didn't have too many issues with wearing these shoes. They didn't feel unstable to me, but if you do want something that keeps your foot locked in place, perhaps a little bit better, then definitely the NitroCharge 1.0 is the way to go. But when it comes to the actual traction pattern itself, I definitely prefer the feel of the HyperVenom Phantom. I feel like they dig in a little bit better, they're a little bit more maneuverable once your foot is planted, and they just provide a little bit better grip at push-off, which is something that I personally prefer. When it comes to the sole plates themselves, both of these sole plates are fairly responsive and definitely a lot stiffer than your average sole plate currently out there on the market. And overall, both of these shoes are going to be great performers no matter what your preference is. So, like I said, more responsive, more traction. It just depends on what you like the feel of and what is your own personal taste, because obviously both of these shoes are very, very different from each other. So that's pretty much it for my traction test comparison video. I'll leave some annotations on screen to other play test and traction test videos that I have done in the past if you guys want to go ahead and check that out. If there are any other two shoes that you would like to see a traction test comparison video for, be sure to leave a comment down below, and if you guys do have any questions regarding either of these two shoes, again, leave a comment down below as well. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest soccer gear. All of my social media information can be found down below in the description. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.